States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
30 minutes of break.
30 seconds.
We will now call the August 15, 2019 Village Board to order. Roll call shows that everyone is in attendance. Our number 3, are there any agenda changes? If not, number 4, consent agenda. A, August 1st, 2019 regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits as presented. C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions?
I misspoke, so it was recorded in the minutes that we don't have a senior activities meeting till September 22nd. It's actually August 22nd, but it's recorded correctly by what I reported. I just wanted to clarify that. I emailed Jane, so I don't know if that just gets corrected this month or.
Do you make a correction then in the minutes, Jane? Okay.
That's
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second that with the correction noted that from Pat.
Roll call. Dan?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Pre-registered citizens to be heard. There are none. Committee reports. I show none. 7, unfinished business from previous meetings. A, R 12-19, special event revision.
That's actually listed as B down below for under new business, so we actually doubled up on the agenda here as well.
Okay, then
We
we
could
will,
discuss it if you wanted to. Then we just have a vote when we get to B below, if that's, if we wanted to entertain it. It is in the packet. So anything that was changed on the special event permit is now in yellow highlight, which includes UTV, ATV. $50 must be approved by the chief of police prior to issuance. All vehicles must be properly licensed by the Wisconsin DNR. And then on the application side of it, please list all streets and thoroughfares, if any, that UTV or ATV use will occur. And then later on in the packet where it's a checklist for office use only, it does say UTV, ATV usage approved with application yes or no. So we have a means of checking with Chris to make sure that they've essentially put in all of the information, where they're going to be driving the vehicle, and make sure it's licensed before it's actually allowed on the special event permit. And then it is an additional $50 fee to use it. So that is the only discussion for me. I don't know if anybody else wants to put
does
in.
anyone have questions on this?
Well, I just have a quick comment. I see New London has been a big push to get UTV and ATV trails throughout the town.
Correct.
Do we potentially need some language in this for future, so you don't have to go back and revisit and redo this whole thing again if at some point we change that?
I don't think so in this one because it is a special event permit.
Okay.
It's not regular usage. Bob, you have something?
Yeah, if we were to do that, we'd have to do it by ordinance, Jim,
Yep.
first off, designating what areas. Now, we can do it for special events and say for, let's say, the run-up Nash, that it's available for certain streets. But it's still planned that once a special permit application is received and approved by the chief, it's still planned to come back to the board, is it not? Or not?
Never has.
No,
Well,
we never have.
okay, that's a little different, for, you know, what the point Jim's making is relevant. ATV, UTV, usage or presence on streets can't be approved by Chris, it's approved by the governing body, you know, the routes.
That's if we do routes. But this is
Well-
just about the special permit for events. The two
Well,
shouldn't be the
But they're gonna
same
be
right
on,
now.
they're gonna be on a street.
Yeah, the road has to be listed here.
May I add just something here, maybe you can clarify it then?
Yeah.
The UTV that we use for the Hortonville homecoming stays in Alonzo Park, and I use it, I drive
And
it
that's
personally.
fine.
But I cross 15 and go down what's the street there in the back, by the bank? Is that Oak? No.
No.
Town.
Town Drive.
Town Drive. Then I go up, up toward the Century and pick up the water and stuff and come back. So in this case, it would require a $50 permit fee? Yeah, then we won't do it. I'll just take my truck.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going?
But in your case, I guess, it's de minimis, but technically, yes, I think the governing body has to authorize ATV or UTV usage on a public road. And, the special permit is a little different. We've never dealt with that because it was just a special permit but it never involved the ATV, UTV usage before. So in my opinion, you gotta, we either have to do an ordinance that somehow dovetails into that maybe, or something, or it's gotta come back here. Now, I don't know, how many special permit apps do we get in a year?
About 4 or 5 a year.
And most of them come in early enough, right, that it can be simply put on the board agenda for rubber stamp. You're meeting twice a month, it's that easy. But, so I think you can look at special permit and say on this day, ATV, UTV usage is allowed on these streets.
So we're doing like a double duty. She's saying she's okay with it, and then it would have to come here,
Right.
so.
And we would want her approval, as to whether or not she sees problems, but I don't think she has the legal authority to actually finalize it.
So essentially, we fill out the permit, and then we put it back in front of the village board.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, I think that would be fine.
But she checks it first,
Correct.
and then it
The,
comes.
the check goes to Chris,
Well,
then to
she
Carl,
checks it, I check it,
and then it goes.
he signs off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I thought of, and this was on the special permit, event permit before, and I guess I never even thought of it. But like, I think of Peter, I think of when you do multiple days, and this says date of event, could we revise the wording on it, that says dates of event? Because, you use it from Friday to Sunday,
No, we actually pull the event for the permit for Tuesday
okay?
through Sunday.
So I mean,
And
just,
Tuesday, when they show up with all their equipment to set up, legally, and rightfully, we should lease that park or rent that park so that nobody else can rent it. So we legally have right to use it.
yeah.
And if somebody pulls up and wants to do a camp out or a cookout, I think we have the right to say, you're in their way, can you please move off the premise?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
You have the exclusive right.
Yeah, I mean,
I just-
we're renting it.
I'm just thinking, if we just, and it's just a word,
We could put an S in
Yeah, we could put an
parentheses.
S.
because, and it might sound silly, but I think of a multiple day event, I would hate for somebody to put like one date on there, and really, this should be good for that duration of time, not just one
Well,
day.
Yeah, and it is, for most part.
But on the application, it says date of
Yeah,
event,
we'll
that's
change
where,
it.
if we could just clarify that.
The other thing that you should probably consider is the event permit is a little ambiguous in the fact that you require a $25 deposit for cleanup. Well, does that apply for every day that facility is being leased? Or is it a one-time fee? Because it's not like the village comes in and cleans up every day. So in other words, in that situation, it would be like 90 or 60 or 8.
I think you can assume it's one time because we don't say for every day.
Yeah, and we usually, let me tell you this, Carl will attest to this.
Sorry.
When we leave, the park is cleaner than when we got there.
Yeah, I just, and we looked at this last year when we created this special events policy, but I just never looked on the application, and I thought of some of these events that are multiple days, just so we could. You look like you had something to say, Chief.
Well, then we have to revise this to say, must be approved by the chief of police,
So many days prior.
the village board, et cetera, on this special permit. And then we would also have to do it on the resolution to say the same thing. Because it says police approval required. So it would have to say police and village board approval required in order to pass this. Is that correct?
Correct.
So could we still pass this down below with the revisions tonight? Does
I
anyone
think so.
else?
I mean, we've done that before with other language changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any other discussion on this then?
So the only question I have is the person you're screening, Chris, is that who you assume is driving the UTV, or they're taking responsibility for anybody that's driving it?
Well, the note on the bottom is gonna, that they're taking responsibility who is on that ATV.
Okay.
The person who's filling out the application is just assuming or showing or providing proof that the person, or that the ATV itself is registered. However, I'm gonna back up here. I was working on the ATV, UTV, in allowing, in the village of Shiacton, okay? The laws changed midway through. However, I think I should make a phone call to the DNR, because the DNR is gonna be the one that's gonna have the most input, and the other person is gonna be the, county highway commissioner. I know that the ATV laws have changed and they have loosened them quite a bit, because we were trying to get the ATV trails through Shiacton, which could not travel down a state highway without the permission of the county highway commissioner, or the DNR. So you had to have permission to be able to do that. And if we have Highway M, that may be a problem, or it may not be a problem. But I think it might be just a phone call to them and asking, and they may say, with the new laws, you guys can go wherever you want for a special event. We're fine with that.
Which is what it sounds like.
And
that
I
they
believe
have
that,
approved
I
that.
believe that it is, because I know that we were using ATVs for our, like our homecoming, fest that we have, and they were running them from the, from the park to the fire hall, and they were going down Highway 54.
I did, on behalf of a town in Allegheny County, look into that earlier this year. And it was first impression for the county highway department at that point in time.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they still have taken a position in that regard. On a state highway, they're basically saying that the state was saying if you cross it, the DOT recognized, if you had a road that allowed it on both sides, that it
Right.
was okay to cross it, and they weren't going to make a deal about it. But otherwise, state highways are not allowable
Right.
at all.
So do we wanna maybe defer this particular until you have had some time to do some research, until we might as well just do this?
I think, I agree with Chris that the usage is so limited to a special event. It's not like we're opening it up for everybody to,
It's just the special event.
it's special event usage. So I guess I differentiate that a little here and like to accommodate, but,
And I've already started, I've started the conversation over in Shiacton with the highway commissioner, and he basically, at that time, and that conversation, he told me if I wanted, if this is something I wanted to move forward on, that he would give me his blessing. So, I think it's just a matter of me contacting him and asking him that question, because you would be traveling down Highway M, because if you're going from the church, it's down Highway M until you get to Oak Street.
yep.
So what would you guys like, what are we doing today?
Why don't you pass the subject to
So should
your
we,
verification that that's allowable.
so can I make a motion just to defer this to
You can do
a next meeting or a future meeting where, cause I'm assuming we have to have something soon, because we've got events where people are planning, but we should make sure it's right.
If we defer this to the September 5th, then it won't help the Dash Down Dash. Their event is September 14th.
Well, what Bob was saying,
Okay,
that we could pass the referendum
okay.
and making contingent on Chris
Okay,
contacting the county highway commissioner and probably the state
okay.
of the
I don't
roads
think we
that are
would.
the
Yeah.
roads that are affected.
And I don't think the dash down Nash, we won't have to
Right, 'cause it's
affect for
crossing.
that,
Yeah.
so the state wouldn't be involved in that one, because the county
So
did.
Okay,
So I would think, Paul, I'll move that we approve our dash
We-
12 dash.
We don't have to do that
We're
yet.
not there yet.
Oh, okay.
We just wanted to do the discussion,
Okay.
and then we'll move on to that in the new business,
Okay, very
to
good.
look for it to be passed.
but you're ready when it's ready to go.
I'm ready to ready.
Make sure you mention change in languages then too when you move for approval on that, okay? There's also language change that I'll make note of that, plus the advice of the police, chief of police.
Are we ready to move on to new business? A, Brookwood Drive Boulevard trees.
I'll take that. In the memo I passed out, what I'm looking at for is, the authorization needs approximately, I'd say about $6,000 from, TID 4 for the purchase of 40 to 60 pine trees that would be installed along the, northern right-of-way boulevard of the newly constructed Brookwood Drive, extension.
That's
This
$100
would aid, this would aid in the appearance and the aesthetics of the newly constructed road. And I wrote a motion down just in case you want it.
Hey, Carl,
Yes, sir?
that's about $100 a tree or more.
Well, it's 100 to 150, depending
Yeah.
on the tree.
From?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't gonna put the cart before the horse until I can actually get some money. for
So are
it.
these mature, and they'll use a spade or are they hand dug?
Well, hopefully they're at least 3 or 4 feet tall.
Okay.
It all depends, you get the best bang for the buck, so.
Is it pine trees you said that you were
Yeah,
looking for?
yeah, we're gonna go with pines.
just
We're also
concerned with,
purchasing 2 deciduous trees for, property up there that we promised, so.
corner of Brookwood and Gabriel. There's one landowner that was,
We took out a lot of, popple trees that were along the side of their house to put the road in. So we're, I think, just being neighborly and good stewards, that we'll put it back, we'll put some trees back in there.
Kind of sounded that was like a verbal commitment to them at that time.
Yeah, yeah. Again, we were not trying to usurp the board, but it's just things we do in public works, trying to make everybody happy, make progress, keep things moving forward, so.
I think by getting a smaller tree, we have some time for growth there before those other 3 houses get placed on the lots, and
Yeah.
I think that'd be the best bang for the buck right now.
Yeah, fall's actually a great time to plant, so I'd like to do it sometime in September, later this month or September, get the trees in, get the roots established before winter.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve $6,000 for the purchase of boulevard trees or right-of-way trees for the new Brookwood Drive extension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. B, R-12-19, revisions to the special event permit. Do we have more discussion, or did we want to approve it with changes? We would need a motion.
I move to approve R-12-19 with the language that we talked about, and then contingent on Chris checking in with the highway commissioner and maintaining roads authorities.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I will produce a new copy with current language, and I'll get that to Chris tomorrow, okay, and then she can share it with Dean, with the highway commission, okay? I'll have it in tomorrow, okay?
I think I did. I seconded it, yeah.
C is R-13-19, rental fee changes.
I could possibly take that. That's Nathan's. He went home today with a migraine. Basically, he was trying to minimize this complicated fee structure for the community center.
Yeah.
And he's been finding that people rent Saturday at the Opera House, yet they go in on Friday, decorate, and they go back in on Sunday and clean, which they should be really paying for all 3 of those days. So he kind of thought maybe if we just book the weekends and leave it that way at the Opera House.
Yeah. Is that in the packet?
No, it's not. These were his notes.
Can you pass around an example of the rental fees for the Opera House? It's quite complicated,
It
convoluted.
is.
It is very
Well,
hard to
the
read.
old fees.
And nobody really
are-
rents for an
it-
hour.
Yeah, it's complicated, but
You know, we'll go a month and have maybe one rental here and there, and then all of a sudden we've got back to back, and there's conflict, arguments, the police get called. The
Cleaning
pricing
issues.
structure is, you know, it takes a rocket scientist to figure out who's paying what.
and I get that to a point. I just, when I looked at this, I think of like the wedding showers, baby showers, I think of the Girl Scouts, I think of different groups that use it for a day, and now they'd be forced to rent it the whole weekend.
Well, that's why it's a two-part
Okay.
thing.
This
We
is
want
older.
those showers, those Girl Scouts coming over here, before we jack the prices up so high in here to force them over there. Well, we need to stop that, you know. We need to have the smaller events here, the showers, the Girl Scouts, and we need to have the bigger events over there. You know, we had a beer bash there, there was liquor bottles everywhere, and they're trying to have a shower.
Yeah.
It's not good the way we do it now, regardless of how you feel about it. It's just not working.
I just wanna make the building
We lose money
affordable.
calling people in, calling the police department.
I know that, but I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure we keep it affordable, because when I look at the new, like if somebody wanted to rent it for a Saturday afternoon event, they would have to essentially, and they're a resident, they would have to pay, so a weekend rental, Friday to Sunday, and if they, say they just wanted to use it on Saturday, they would have to pay $420. And with a $200, you know, so like, I just think that I get it, you wanna bring some here, but I think the facility, we're trying to make sure that facility's not in the red, we want it in the black.
Well, it is in the red because we're always cleaning up after people and running into events.
The other thought, and it's because somebody brought it up to me that who had rented it a while ago. And when we rented it, we actually it would have been nice to have, perhaps there's some cleaning services, even if it's commercial cleaning, or it could be
Okay, so we're
private.
gonna lose even more money.
Yeah.
No, that the village wouldn't pay for, that you simply give them a list and say, if you're leaving here at this wedding and you're all leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning and nobody wants to come back Sunday to clean, here's a list of people that you could hire to clean.
But they would still have to clean Sunday.
Or they come, or whoever they
And
hire
that
to clean.
expense, we took a look at that when we were doing the big band dance, because the guys in the Legion weren't able to come back the next day
Yeah,
to clean, and it was $500 just for cleaning service out of New
Really?
London to come in to clean up.
Can't rent it the next
Yeah,
I
plus
just
can't rent it.
the next day.
So, you know, I think this discussion should really fall to the public facilities
mhm.
and have them come up with some ideas.
I get it, the fee structure is, and
Yeah,
I look
it's
at this,
confusing.
and then I even looked at some from 20-some years ago, and it was like, this, 10 to 20 people this much, and 20 to 40, I mean, it was even worse. I get it, it's a lot, I think this could be simplified, but
Yeah.
still make it affordable, especially for the groups that just want it for a day, and then there's a definite, you start at this time of day, and so that you don't get to go in Friday night.
Yeah, well, you're taking people at their word. They say they want it for 4 hours, you know, they get there early, they're using upstairs,
I know.
downstairs.
And it shouldn't be a
There's-
pain for you.
Yeah, they need to use the
But I
whole
thought
building or
in the
not.
past, when someone had a wedding, we actually said to them, you have to rent it Friday
Mhm.
and you have to rent it Saturday. And so we were getting that money as it was. But say, I wanna go in and I wanna rent it on Saturday, just Saturday. So now you're telling me, no, you can't do that, no.
Yeah.
We're discouraging a one-day rental, is what you're saying? So you're gonna have even less people using that facility
Well,
by
right now,
doing it this way.
I think we need to shove this off to the.
Public
I
facilities,
do.
and I just
agree.
think that it's, I would
Yeah,
hate
which
to
I chair.
deter.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
I've used that facility a number of times. some of the other problems we had where we were upstairs doing dance, and there was a group downstairs, and all we did is make noise for them. So that's another issue too. So I'll tell you what, I'll get together with those that are on the committee, and we'll set up a meeting, and we'll come back.
Okay,
Okay?
I like that.
Good idea. So at this time, we will just put this
Defer it.
aside.
I'll make a motion to well, do you even need a motion to defer?
That would be.
Okay, I'll make a motion to defer this to public facilities.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. DR-14-19, construction contract, only Parker Heights.
Again, I need a decision tonight so we can move forward with the development of the final engineering report, assessment report for the Brookwood Drive project. This one here is construction contract only. The assessable balance would be $228,074.85. Below that, on the memo I handed out, shows the liabilities, percentages, and just immediately below that, it shows what I'm estimating to be what I call one assessable unit. That would be one lot of $1,219.16.
Does anyone have questions?
I think there was some intent on the board assessing construction contract only. While we
I
never voted on it,
have,
I needed official.
Yeah, we never voted on it, and then
No.
what we pulled up on from November 1st last year, I think I read it, but just, I printed it off tonight. I mean, the intent was to reduce it from the 15 to 1,200-ish. That was our intent. And it doesn't matter, you know, I mean, I get where that money would come from, but I think we need to stay true to the intent. And
So essentially in your packet, our -15-19 is the full assessment, so it's one or the other, as asked for by the board last meeting. So they're both produced, so if somebody wanted to make a motion on the first one here for the lesser of the two for the construction contract only, and it was seconded, and then roll call vote, we would just null and void the R-15-19. Okay?
I just want to, pardon me, I've got a little bit of a cold. As I pointed out last time, I don't think I want to be held as someone going back on their word. We did, as you pointed out, give them the idea that we would have the lesser of the two.
I agree.
And I do have the paperwork.
Yeah.
That was from that meeting.
You know-
And all the figures are here. I just feel we put so much work into this with this committee, with listening to the people meeting after meeting. I just feel we may have to hold true to our word. I know some of you weren't board members at that time, but if you did any homework and watched this committee of the whole on November 1st,
Yeah.
and saw what we had agreed upon with these residents, I think it's something we should take into respect.
To add to that, Jeannie, I always worry about setting a precedent. Like, what are we gonna do in the future so now they wanna put, I'm sure, Main Street at some point. You know, and so I don't wanna set a precedent. However, this was a unique situation. This was not a typical assessment.
20 years in the making.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm also learning that there have been some properties sold since this has all been discussed. Some properties sold in that neighborhood, the new residents are completely unaware. So even after this has been absolutely public, this has been something that's been vocalized, and even the new buyers aren't aware that this special assessment is even existing. So I think it's crummy, and it's a unique situation, and I hope we never, ever, ever get this village in a situation like this again, because who's on the board for 17+ years? Who could explain exactly what happened 17 years later?
I'd say the only other promise you made them would be to somehow satisfy that obligation on their deed.
Yes, and I think that should go hand in
Am
hand
I,
with this.
Jim, is that the way you
That was
remember that?
promised.
You mean we're gonna change the special assessment rules for?
No,
For
This
residents?
no.
wouldn't come back up again.
On your deed is you're liable for that agreement from that time.
And it would say it was
Oh.
satisfied.
Yeah,
Because that's tied,
That
it's
was
registered.
something that was To be noted.
Isn't it,
Yeah.
it's all registered on their deeds, the special assessment?
Yes, I mean, that notice was on there, and so if you look at the full title report, it's there.
And how does it get removed? Do we have to, as a board, do something specific?
Yeah, we could put something in record saying that it's completed at this point to take it off.
Does it have to be on the agenda, or could it be tied into this resolution?
Yeah, I think once this is complete,
Once
we
the
could-
assessment, once we,
this, yeah,
This
I-
isn't the,
this would be the
this isn't the
final.
time to do
this
that.
isn't the resolution for
No,
final
it's not the
assessment?
resolution, but to answer your question, right, I think there would be a separate action by the board. Basically saying, listen, there can't be any further assessments with the subdivision, and then directing you to record something.
I just don't want it to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and we did agree to
I
that.
would say,
Resolution.
just for clarification
Yeah.
though, some people recently bought houses and they don't know. As part of a normal closing, there's gonna be what's called a town letter sent to the village.
Okay,
Nathan fills them out, and if there's a pending, part of it is actually on there, you know, are there any special assessments, pending or otherwise? So we would inform them. Now, again, if people don't do their, you know, they don't
I
follow
had-
things or appreciate what's in front of them, but we give them as much notice as we can.
I had an individual call me, it came from an unknown number, and they had shared some their opinion on this. But then it was, do you know that 2 houses down this sold, and they didn't even know about it. So is that true? I don't know, but
All I'm saying is they should know because
It's on
that's our
there.
procedure.
it's on there, and everybody should look, yeah, okay. So what you're looking for is a motion for the resolution we're choosing, correct?
Correct, either 14
Yes.
or
Unless somebody has any other discussion. Then I will make a motion for R-14-19, which, resolution approving the assessments in the Parker Heights subdivision to residents' construction contract only pricing and not full price of assessment.
Second.
Did you want to abstain? Jim?
Yeah, he might want to abstain.
Do you wanna say?
I'll second that. Or it's another 30 minutes in the break.
you should do a roll call vote, please.
Yeah.
And then I would do roll call, please. Dan?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Aye.
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 Motion carried with 1 abstain.
Thank you.
We will then move on to any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion.
Yes. Obviously, we need a public facilities meeting, but before even we talked about the Opera House, I have a topic which I can discuss with you after the board meeting tonight, but we need sooner rather than later for public facilities. So that's something, if we could set up a meeting, I don't know if we can do that right now. The other topic I have is and maybe it's coming down the pike, but some municipalities are talking again about the emergency sirens because of the county relinquishing or have the plans to relinquish, so if that could be something we don't let drop off the radar. And a third item, and I'm not even sure it's a village board item, but I'm not even sure who to contact. There's been some interest in creating a free pantry, and they're looking for a safe place to keep that in the winter months. That would be climate controlled, and the municipal building has been brought up. So I know it's not open for discussion, but I don't know if that's a board agenda item, or if that's somewhere else that we need to direct that to.
I'm not gonna deter it, but I'll tell you right now, we are at wit's end with library and storage in this building as we speak. So-
It would be like one of those little free library, but it'd be like the little
Okay.
free it would be like the size of like a quarter of a dog house. I mean,
Okay.
it's just the tiny little free pantry of,
When you say pantry, I'm thinking.
I know, I'm sorry, but I don't
A
know.
room of stuff.
I don't know if that's a village thing, because the question was, could it be here, because then it would be climate controlled over the winter months, if like a canned food item wouldn't, and I don't wanna discuss it, but I don't know if that's a future agenda item for the board, or if you could tell me somewhere else to go with
I
that,
think that would also be a public facilities meeting
okay,
discussion.
and that makes sense.
What about the pantry in Dale?
This is for, without discussion, the discussion, or
Good
the
point.
topic is for folks that don't necessarily have a ride. They have foot traffic only. But utilize our library
No, you don't wanna do that.
New deals on movement.
and people can't walk there. That's the big thing, yeah. So those are the 3 items I could come up with for future agenda items. Because so public facilities, if we could do that, that'd be great.
Any other topics?
The only thing I would offer, if it's okay with the village board, you came in late, past the public comment. Did you have anything that you wanted to say? Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
We will move to 9, report of village officials, administrator.
I didn't hand you a handout. I'm stealing some of Carl's thunder here. We always seem to overlap, but first bullet points in economic development. Happy to report, aside from road painting, Grandview restoration project is complete. I think everything went well. Okay. Yesterday, they also continued paving, so Nash Street, County Highway M is also completed this week. Third bullet point, ads for the construction shed for the village shed are completed. They will go out next Thursday. They will be returned as sealed bids, due by the 19th of September, and the schedule of events is listed there as well. 11/1 would be the completion date for concrete, and we're expecting the building to be complete by December 1st. So, when we go into community development, I heard this week from Outagamie County Aging and Disability Resource Center. So the grant that I wrote last fall that has got pushed to this summer has made the first cut. I believe the county board is meeting Tuesday to finalize their budget for 2020. So we are potentially still in the running for a operating budget and the purchase of a new vehicle for the village in 2020. So we'd be able to offer a ride share for the village. So more to come on that, but after speaking with Amy Bastion of the ADRC this past Monday, it seems like we're sitting pretty good. So if that comes to fruition, we'd have a village-owned and operated ride share that people, seniors especially, be able to utilize for transportation in the village. I do have a potential group that has stepped forward also to man and potentially drive the vehicle. So we're sitting good, just got to come to fruition. We are well underway in the budget procedure. Carl's taking the lead on some of the major tasks. I'm still learning from Carl, as he's done a lot of that for many years. So he's been my teacher again this fall. All the department heads have been preparing their initial submissions. I've asked for them by September 1, as that's when we are able to get our levy information from the Department of Revenue. So well underway. We are also finalizing insurance and annual renewals. So we have a very good start to that procedure. Nothing for marketing and branding. And then I did attend with Jim 2 meetings, both monthly and the quarterly, Hortonville, Hortonville Fire District meetings, the 7th and 13th of the month. That's all I have unless there's a question or comment.
If not, we'll move on to B, clerk treasurer.
Nothing.
Okay. C, director of public works, FEMA report.
Let's see, what did Dave talk about?
Sorry, Lloyd.
Talk a little bit about the storm event. I'm sure Chris will finish that up. Looks like we had a total of $16,546 worth of public works claims for that July 20th storm. There's some, you probably have some information on the fire department. We got our toolkit submittal ready for emergency management, so we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some funds back from that. One of the biggies I wanted to talk about was a boil water advisory today. As you know, we've been waiting pretty much all summer for the company to come in and sandblast and repaint the inside of the water tower. And yesterday was the first day that we drew down the water tower, because they started today. And sure enough, we had a water main break early this morning. Perfect timing. So right now we're using the well to pressurize the system, but with the water main break, all the pressure went that way. It got relieved that direction. So what happens is the areas on the south side of the town, the southwest side of the town, that are on the extremities of the village, they're the ones who are going to suffer, because the pressure is reduced, but it's staying over here. So We fill areas, we're calling it south of Main Street. We issued a boil water advisory, but realistically, it's Greenbrier, you know, over there a little bit in your neighborhood and areas that way. Because I had decent water pressure even with the water main break, but it's hard to draw a line, so we just chose south of south of Main, and we also gave some exemptions for Nash Street because they maintain decent water pressure as well. But yeah, if you look in my notes there, we increased our chlorine dosage levels on recommendation of the DNR. We did our first round of bacteriological testing today. We got another one we're going to do tomorrow, and hopefully by Saturday I'll get a call back from the laboratory clearing those. One of the things we found over there was severe corrosion in these pipes that were in front of the high school. Typically when we have a water main break over in front of the high school, we just get a flat circular snap. But this is extreme corrosion. And this isn't the bad part. We found this when we were putting the repair on the other part. So they were tapping on it to clean it up, to put the clamp on there, and this stuff just fell apart. So one of the things I want to do is Dan wants to get together with Public Works Committee. So we're going to reassess our capital improvement plan. We might shift some projects, move some stuff up, but it's quite possible we are experiencing high water loss in our utility, and it could very well be from Oak Street. Again, this stuff was put in late 40s. It's cast iron, not ductile, so it is susceptible to corrosion, and we do have aggressive soils in the village, so we may be able to kill two birds with one stone, I and water loss, if we were to expedite Oak Street. So we'll talk about that more later in Public Works, but we did the best we could today. You know, we had people calling in at 5 a.m. leaving messages on our answering machine that there was water coming out of the road, but not one person called the police department to tell them. So we didn't know the water main break was there till 7. So again, diligence by people, you know, I don't know why if you know there's water coming out of the road, why you leave a message, why don't you call PD or dispatch or something like that. Maybe there's something we can do there.
Is something you could do with your voicemail answering, or?
Yeah, we're gonna change it, and we're gonna say if this is an emergency, please call, you know, dispatch or 911 or county dispatch at 832-5000. So
I would have probably done the same thing, though, because to me, it wouldn't rise to the level of, you know, hitting 911. I mean,
yeah,
it would seem,
you know, and even you know, we dozens and a lot of phone calls is on our messages, and you know, again, you know, no water at their house. You know, everybody's just leaving messages. You know, I had lower water pressure, but you know, due to the tower being down, I didn't know if just a lot of people were taking showers.
yeah. So we had, it was.
But you obviously
bad.
had none. So.
Yeah. Lost it on full. You had.
So like I said, one of the things we can do, we can address the voicemail message. Maybe the other is just education. Some of these people that called in, you know, maybe I'll talk to them and just say, you know, if you think it's an emergency, you know, call the police department. So
One question came up, Carl, was, so I get social media. A lot of people have social media, but don't we have an email like list from when people were signing up to receive any email updates? Could that be something, a Public Works, I think boil water advisory,
Yeah.
or there's like something where you have to get information out to people quickly? Is that something we could already have, or maybe is that something we might
email
have to
listings are difficult at best. Most people don't want to give the village anything like that.
No, but I mean, I just think.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
Facebook, we have the website, we have the news.
Was it on the radio and TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
It hit
So
the
I
TV
don't
about
know,
8:45.
at what point, you know, you can do everything and somebody's gonna complain you didn't do Snapchat.
I know.
You know, where do you stop?
Yeah, by 8:45, I had notified the 4 major Green Bay news stations. I got confirmation from all 4. All 4 were on their webpage.
Yeah.
Cumulus Radio, I did WAPL, WIXX, Y100.
I had an elderly lady I went and visited today, and I showed up at 9:30 at her house. She had no idea. So I explained to her what it was and what you needed to be careful of, and so she now, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that, I am not criticizing by
No,
any
I
means.
know,
think
it
you did a
just-
phenomenal job
there's
trying to
no- there's no
communicate.
perfect answer.
However, I just think of emergency, or even when we lose power, it's gotta be stress on the water treatment plant.
Well, it's more stress on the guys.
Unfortunately,
is.
Julie, that's the same category of the elderly, I'm not being
Yeah.
critical either, that's the same people that
They're not gonna check
require
email.
they require the Village Voice to be printed, you know, so they
Yeah.
don't check emails, they're not on social media, they don't do Facebook. So there is a
And it's
detach
hard.
there, so
But I think the Village Voice too is somewhere too to mention it. I know Grand Chute had a water main break one time. They looked for it for 2 days. And a couple of the guys happened to be driving around the road, and a guy on a bicycle said, "What are you looking for?" "Looking for a water main break." And he says, "Well, I just passed it. It's back on some obscure
yeah.
back trail." So it happens, but maybe Village Voice would.
Essentially, with the storm damage that we've had this year and now this water advisory, the Village Voice is getting, the fall deadline is September 2. That's the message that I'm gonna put in there this time around. So I'm gonna address the proper channels.
Tear off this page, stick it inside your
Yeah,
cabinet.
put it on your
fridge.
refrigerator, put it on your refrigerator. And if you feel it's an emergency, even if you don't think it's an emergency, it might be.
Mhm.
But worst case scenario, call the PD if it's at an hour that you don't know what I'm saying.
Okay,
So that's the message that I'm gonna relay out there.
okay.
So,
I'm not criticizing, please don't
No,
think
no,
that. It
no.
honestly
No.
was an elderly, I showed up at her house and she had no idea, and then cause she had a big glass of water sitting in front of her.
Ideally, it'd be nice if they called PED number, because then it automatically transfers to dispatch, right?
Right. And then the dispatcher will dispatch the officer to that location.
And that's
And
usually
then
the
they'll
quickest
call.
way.
Okay,
Almost instantly, the officer gets it. so.
yeah.
And your people know who's on call for
Yes.
DPW.
Yes.
So Ollie says to Sven as they're pedaling along in the 100 block of Dauphin Street, "Boy, it sure did rain heavy back there." A little light joke,
That's all I have.
you know, I will say something. Doesn't the county have some emergency management thing that calls your cell phone?
Yes.
Ad hoc.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I know the state does the same too, because I
Yeah.
used to get the notifications, but is that something we could utilize? Because I'll tell you, elderly people may not have Snapchat,
They don't.
No, they don't.
okay, but they will have a cell phone.
Yes.
Right.
Or a
Or
landline.
landline.
And I
Or
think
landline.
ad hoc.
Right.
I wonder if we could tie into ad hoc, that's
Yeah.
a great idea, because it's something that already exists and a lot of people subscribe to that.
Right.
Because that's their
But-
whole reasoning
Yeah.
for getting rid of
Yeah,
the
you're,
sirens.
they're gonna have to have a cell phone,
Mhm.
and two, they're gonna have to be subscribed to that. And-
Ad hoc, I subscribe on our home phone and my cell phone, so I get two
Both.
notifications, and so I get a text, I get a phone call, and then my cell phone rings about 10 minutes later. It's kind of funny, the cell phone is actually the slowest.
Right, from Albany County.
Yeah, for
Yes.
Judy Van Den Hoosberg,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it's funny listening to it. But my phone rings my home phone rings instantly, I get a text instantly, and my cell phone will ring about 10 minutes later. It's kind of funny how it trickles through. But ad hoc, I wonder if there's something with municipalities, if they're gonna push the siren thing, then I think, yeah.
Then you get 10 calls from your constituents too.
I'd rather get 10 calls telling me that we're on a boil water advisory. I made this lady dump her water out. She had a glass of water in front of her, you know, I'm like, no.
So how did I get
Well, you'd have to get some information out about it, because I don't even know what it is.
Came as a text.
From who?
This is the number.
The village.
I mean, I figure out from the context of the conversation here, but I never heard of it until.
But it has to be kind of really
Yeah.
specific for
Yeah,
what's going
and I
on.
get
Yeah.
emails.
You know, we're
I get
contacting who too, so
Here's
it.
the as well. If you just out of
easy for me, I don't know.
I could talk with emergency management
Yeah,
about
maybe
that.
there's something.
I'll call Paula.
Web pages
That's
I
an
bet you there's
idea.
something.
With the
I'll call
meeting.
Paula and
Okay.
see what we can do.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Then it might be just educating the elderly.
Volunteer, get a bunch of high school
I
kids
was thinking
volunteering to
that
help
Autumn
these
Fest, maybe
elderly
it would be a good time to talk about that.
sign up on ad
Or
hoc.
put it in
Go
Village
door to
Voice
door.
if we can utilize that.
I'll call
Yeah,
her tomorrow.
my kid is.
So, are there any other questions for Kyle? If not, we'll move to D, Police Department.
He stole my thunder.
He stole it? Okay.
I have nothing.
Nothing else?
Nope.
Any questions for the chief?
National Night Out, you did great.
We did. We had a good turnout and a lot of nice donations. Cash donations were still coming in even after. We had a $100 one from the funeral home. Yeah,
That's pretty nice.
very nice.
Awesome.
E, the library director is not here. F, attorney.
Unless there's questions.
Anything on the Shimmy property? I'm
On the
gonna,
sh- on-
this-
Yep, on the shilling. It looks like the foreclosure is on again. After all this time in prodding, trying to find a live person that would do anything, because they had dismissed the previous foreclosure a long time ago, but they hadn't satisfied their mortgage. And so we've been trying to establish contact.
how big is that lot?
I'm not sure.
Is that a buildable lot?
Oh, yeah, I think they're pretty good. Anyway,
See, you
So,
gotta be thinking outside the box. There's a
yeah.
lot of older,
Big
Light-
enough for an apartment
light
building?
homes.
We discussed that today, because redevelopment is not out of the key either.
yeah. But at
Apartment
this
building,
point,
here we
I
come.
It's half demolished anyway, so.
Exactly.
I understand that they decided after all of this to start the foreclosure all over again. But that's good. Now we got somebody we can talk to, we can waive time presumably, and get it sold, because whoever buys it is not only gonna take responsibility for the lot, but they also have to address the water and sewer charge that was put on the tax roll.
Well, it's a developable, I mean.
Oh,
it's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the shed on there is fantastic.
See?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're gaining lots as we go.
Do you know what the water and sewer charge is on that?
Yeah, I do.
It's about $9,000, isn't it?
No.
Or 12?
20,000.
40.
Is
What?
it 40 now?
43,000.
Oh, I thought it was
You're
20.
kidding.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Don't work cheap.
But hey, it's
So-
a developable lot.
But,
But
yeah.
I was just curious, because it
And-
just seems to be sitting there idle.
And I'll give you a better report next meeting. How's that?
I love that, thank you. I anticipate that, yeah.
Any other questions? Building permit report is in the packet. Number 10, communication and miscellaneous business, Black Otter Lake District News.
Annual meeting is on Monday night. We're having free brats and hot dogs. Starting at 6 o'clock at Alonzo Park. Everybody's invited.
So it's 6 o'clock? Okay.
What's the date?
Monday.
Monday the 19th. Hoping if we have food, people will come.
E is Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News.
So, we had a meeting, or the fire district did. You'll have to excuse me, I'm gonna do this from memory because I took my notes to work to do an outline and I left them there. So, we did discuss a few things. One was, well, everybody got this already, so thanks for David for sending that out. Some of the calls are interesting to read through. Car versus home, stuff like that. So, we did talk about the EMS compensation. We brought up to Hortonia that we'd have to work out the split. They seemed very amenable to it as well. Like a 6,000, 3,000, I think, something in that range, split for EMS compensation. The EMS guys said they're gonna have to tighten up their record keeping as to who's on which call and things like that, so they know that that's coming towards them. The Hortonia town president brought up compensation for the fire department, which sort of got poo-pooed by the fire department guys themselves. Said they really don't need it right now. They do get a clothing allowance, so they're getting some compensation right now. But they did bring up that it's getting harder to get younger guys in, and it may come up in the future. They may have to find some sort of some minor compensation to same as the EMS to get covered for when they come out on calls, at least for gas and for other incidentals. They're gonna have their meeting September 10th again to do their budget. So that's before we start with our budget stuff. So they wanna try to get their stuff in. And then, their equipment fund from memory that's left at somewhere over north of 30,000. The prison was brought up, and the Hortonia president said, no prison going in, the money's been spent somewhere else already. So they're looking at, other locations potentially, in the area where all of these, hooligans, for lack of another better word, are from in the first place. So there's some question about why, if you have a bunch of people coming from Waukesha and Milwaukee and stuff, why are they looking at putting them in Hortonia? The annexation to New London appears to be more or less a dead issue at this point. That's not gonna happen. And right now the prison's not. That's all I got.
More questions for Jim?
I just got a few comments. That meeting was Tuesday night, so yesterday I took liberty to revise the 2% dues form for the fire department, sent it back to Matt. They've had issues in the past with the town of Liberty. Liberty has not paid them their 2% dues. So essentially what they were doing is they would take that out of the stipend that they were paid and subtract it off, minimized it. By their contract, they never had officially declared on their contract that the 2% dues were in excess to their payment. So we cleaned it up, sent it back, it should be good to go. We also addressed, one of the major line items on the budget is supplies to Gold Cross. They essentially have a problem with expiration of medicine that is on the ambulance. And I basically took it in my own liberty to call Gold Cross yesterday as well and talk to the executive director, and I said, there's gotta be a protocol. These many ambulances that you run, there's absolutely no reason that medicine is going expired. There should be some kind of rotation basis or something, and he said, yeah, there is. So he was gonna talk to the powers that be to find out why we're expiring medicine and try to figure it out. I said, as of right now, the village of Hortonville and Hortonia Township should not have to pay for some of these rotation problems. And this isn't a couple dollars, this is thousands of dollars annually that they replenish. So the way it works is that anything that's taken from the ambulance for the first responders for Hortonville or Hortonia should be immediately replenished by a Gold Cross ambulance. And they do that to some point, but anything that has expiration dates, they don't keep tabs on it. And next thing you know, it's junk. So I said, that can't happen anymore. We can't be buying medicine that could be used in the field somewhere else. It's just it's gotta happen. So, I had that conversation, so more to come. But I went right to the top of the executive director yesterday, so.
If that's not the biggest item in the EMS budget, it's pretty close.
Yeah,
I mean, it
absolutely.
was, I don't wanna say it was $4,000 or $5,000.
Absolutely. Yeah,
somewhere
just
in there.
replacement of.
It's pretty high.
medical. Yeah.
And it's just expirations, Narcan and some other
Yeah.
drugs.
EpiPens.
Oh, they don't.
Who's, town chairman for Liberty, you know?
That I don't know. I mean, I didn't deal with them. Dan, I essentially just took care of the form work.
Okay.
So when they
Oh, just when-
go to have, they're not gonna be able to get their dues in 2019 because the way they contracted this year, they didn't note it. So in order for them to go renew their services, and I told Matt yesterday, I said, if they don't wanna sign this form, then they might have to look for different services.
Mhm.
And I think where the situation where they're sitting, they're gonna want HHFD to do their work rather than New London. So, it's simple. And if I told Matt if I have to go to the Liberty Town meeting, I will. It's simple.
Mhm.
It's a courtesy to the fire department to give that money back.
Yeah.
They do fire inspections and it's the insurance, 2% dues, I don't know if everybody's aware how it works. It's an insurance policy that's repaid back to the municipalities. That money should go back to the fire department. So it's unjust that they've done it for all these years.
C is the Gold Cross ambulance run report and news, and that is in the packet. Are there any questions on it? D is Hortonville Civic Association. Peter, anything?
That's not really, just still working with Carl on the expansion of the walkway at Alonso.
E is Senior Activities Committee.
We had a field trip today, we had 11 people. We went to Mosquito Hill Nature Center, had a program by one of the naturalists on monarchs. People enjoyed that, and then we stayed for lunch. So anybody that went, we paid $5, which covered the program and a lunch. And they seemed to really enjoy it. It was a beautiful day. Talk about what more we can do, more field trips like that. And we just carpooled. Meeting is a week from today, so it'll be the 22nd at 1 o'clock here. We'll be planning Autumn Fest, which is happening in October. And, finding out more about transportation, and I think a good topic of discussion would be communication and that kind of thing for seniors in our community.
Nathan and I have taken the liberty, especially Nathan, he has revised the Senior Autumn Fest flyer, so that's ready to go, Pat. We did forward it back to Karen Dickerl because she has an event on the 20th, where she's gonna, so we're all, in years past, it always went through the UW extension. This year, all the sign up will come through the village. So we have the flyer set, and we're gonna be taking all the registration here. We did defer that event to St. Pierre and Paul for space constraints.
Right.
So hopefully that can accommodate. I'd like to get it back here. It's a village event, we'd like to have it on village property, so we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, it got really tight. I don't think it's a bad thing to have it,
Okay.
there. So I think it'll be a good thing. Thank you for doing that.
Yep, no problem. We'll see Nathan, so give credit where due.
Here's one thing, the library director's not here, but it just occurred to me that is it this Saturday?
Yes,
Yep,
9
and I
to
wanted
noon.
to ask about library board report. Yeah, it's this Saturday. Yep.
Yeah, this Saturday, is the end of summer party, and I know you are still looking for volunteers. Yes?
I just had an email before I came that we have 2 more volunteers, so that makes a huge difference.
Okay,
And I asked the same question, we had library board meeting on Tuesday. She said she was looking for 1 or 2, so I believe she's covered.
okay, but I
If
just.
you wanna call it that.
Although, because Eva's not here, I just wanna make sure we didn't miss the end of summer party, because I
Yep.
think that that's important, so, sorry.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The kids come that have done their reading, the adults too. So the Friends of the Library gives ice cream sundaes. We have our games again, like we did at National Night Out. We'll add 1 more. So it's a fun event. So thanks for bringing it up. What time is it? It runs from 9 to 1. And we did have a library board meeting on Tuesday. Our finance committee is working on the budget with Ally, and I think that was about it from library board.
And F would be municipal court report.
She's gonna do a monthly report, so that would be for the 1st of September.
Okay.
Okay.
And 11 is comments and suggestions from citizens present, and there are none. 12 would be adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.